I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you again, man, for this opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, man, dude. Thanks for making time. Yeah,
Well,
you never have to apologize for rescheduling. It's like I'm trying to think of a joke in terms
mhm.
of that. Like if a dad like shows up to something outside of the house, like
Yeah.
somebody should be sucking a dick.
Right.
It's
And
like
I think that's
you,
the joke right there.
yeah. Do you know what it takes? Like,
Oh,
no, all y'all single folks out there doing
yeah.
gosh knows what.
All you gotta do is what? Put your dog away, make sure your cat's got some food or whatever. You're good to go. You can
Good to
go ahead
go.
outside the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can create your dog. Yeah.
You can leave the lights on and everything, no problem there, or whatever. You're only paying bills for you anyway,
Yeah.
you know.
And oh my gosh, dude. And it's just like, and that's where, like I have that bit where, yeah, like, the thing that irritates parents is when all you people who haven't had kids out there say your dog is just like your kid. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, man, I can't put them in a crate legally.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you do that joke too, man,
Yeah.
because it's so true. It's so true when it comes to our kids, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So
Y'all have a good Merry Christmas and all that?
yeah, man. Yeah, we did something here at the house. We did the whole present opening thing here initially, and then we had some of our family come over later in the day, and all that. And yeah, no, we had a good time. I cooked. I think we were doing a seafood boil,
Ooh,
uh, and but then like my mom, for example, she doesn't eat seafood,
okay.
so I made some wings, and everything, and
That's
some
nice.
fries and stuff, and then little appetizers, all that good stuff. How about you guys?
Oh man, dude, had a everybody was healthy. Like it's
Mhm.
I think over the last couple of years, like all right, we all had all the sickness done
Mhm.
back in the beginning of December, so everybody was healthy, and then we just kind of celebrated just with the my squad on Christmas
Gotcha.
Eve, and then Christmas Day. My parents came over like around 3 in the afternoon, and so then we did
Mhm.
let them bring over the presents for the grandkids, and then we all went over to my brother's house like at for dinner that night, and it was just fun. My brother's got 5 kids, so he's slacking a little bit, just like, dude, you're
Are y'all in
weak.
competition with each other, or how does this work?
I love him to death, but yeah, I'm very competitive. My brother-in-law, my brother and sister-in-law, they just
Uh-huh.
had twins, and
Oh,
yeah,
congrats,
yeah,
man.
and so that brings their squad up to 4. And I look at him, I'm like, I told my brother-in-law, I was like, listen here, Matt, you son of a bitch, you know how competitive I am. Like
Right.
dropping twins on me, dropping twins. What the hell, man? Oh gosh, Julie, get in here. It's like put your legs up. Let's go,
That family reunion's gotta be crazy, man.
dude.
Like, how many grandkids there are? It's
Well,
nuts.
we think about it, and not assuming that every like kid that we have is gonna have kids or want kids or something like that, but like if you think that they decide to do what we've done, and then you're talking about 6 kids having 6 kids, it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And all of a
Man.
sudden Texas starts looking very gingerly, after, like, and then it
Everywhere.
tracks back to this podcast. They're like, well, 200 years ago, you see this, you know
They
mediocre
figured you
stand-up
out.
comedian Ginger Prime sitting down and procreating like nothing else.
You just inseminated the entire North Dallas region,
Yeah, I know.
and there it
So
happened.
you're welcome, ladies. Dude, so TJ, tell me first and foremost, how big does my cock need to be a trophy husband?
Not that big, man. You just gotta know what to do with it. That's
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. Yeah, no, I'm not out here working with, you know, the biggest thing in the world. No, believe me, it
Have you
ain't
seen some
big.
big cocks in your life?
Oh my gosh, it's scary. Yeah,
Right,
the
I know.
internet shows you some shit.
Oh, I'm talking about like in real life.
Yes, one for
Yeah.
sure. It definitely was like people say like the whole like it's a baby's arm holding an apple like thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And it
Yeah.
was scary looking. Yeah.
Yeah. How's that? Like, I don't even know how that's functional. You know,
I don't know either. My thing is he was African, so it didn't scare me that much. So it was like at that point,
you're like, yeah,
like
dude.
yeah, this
Yeah.
makes sense.
Please
Like if it was
spread that. Spread like you need to like. Will you inseminate my wife because I need that in my family
a cheap
pool.
pool.
Yeah. See, the women in my wife's family, they lived like till
Uh-huh.
100 or something years old, and
Really?
us, we
Hmm.
maybe have 70 years. Like that's like so. I'm like, yeah, like oh, let me get some of that long longevity in the pool here. You know,
Right.
yeah, that's right.
No, man, that's the only thing. That's oh my gosh, it could be scary. I don't understand some of these that people are walking around with. It's like, how do you live life? How do you go on about your day to day?
Yeah.
You know, can you do a regular job? Can you work at Verizon with a big dick? I don't think you can. I don't think, or at least some areas. You know, I'm thinking like say if it's like like a huge dick in like in a
Yeah.
factory or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not controlling that thing, get stuck on the machine.
Right. Like there's
Yeah.
there's danger. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh no. And yeah,
And
we
there's
got to
like a
protect that. We got to protect that as men. You know, they're all talking about like things are shrinking nowadays because of too much microplastics in the body and
right, yeah.
all that. I'm like, okay, guys, you know, that's why I'm absolutely pro bringing back arranged marriages. Like it's like, you know, hey, let's get it with the dowry because I got 4 daughters, so it's like let's make a deal. And yeah, we're going to be testing some things. It's going to be uncomfortable for you, young man, but I want to make sure that the kids are taken care of. You know, no assembly line accidents here. You know how to use that thing.
And like you were saying too, you know, if that's the case, so if it's the case of where things are shrinking
Yeah.
for men, is the opposite happening for women where these things are just getting
Oh,
more, you know,
just wider.
yeah, wider and just I don't know. And are we ready for that?
Yeah,
I don't
as a species.
as a species. Are we ready for more space? Are we for more real estate?
It's
Are we
like, oh,
ready
it's cozy.
I'm in here.
It's like I'm here. It's like like the Mormons with the concept of soaking. You're like, all right, just
Yeah.
a little bit more breathing room, a little bit more resting room here.
You know, I thought we were going to at least get in a good 15 minutes before we brought up dicks, but
Yeah.
you know, we failed. But it's okay. We're doing.
I mean, like that's one of the things. It's like like in the comedy club, it come dicks. You know, like it's just it comes up real quickly. Yeah,
Standard.
it's standard. Yeah, it's just a factor. So, TJ, like, let's just do like a little bit of a promo for those of you who are just checking out the podcast. This is TJ Evans. He's one, I think, of the premier stand-up comics in the DFW area, but he goes beyond DFW. He's been heading up to the great north of
Yeah.
Oklahoma. You know, land of the casinos, meth, and yeah, they occasionally enjoy a good stand-up comic coming to visit. So, dude, like, what do you got? What shows do you got coming up? Tell people where they can find you, and we're just gonna keep shooting the shit.
Yeah, yeah. So let me pull this up because
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna forget something here.
Dude,
Okay,
you were so busy too. I'm like, I'm so jealous. I'm like, oh, TJ's got a show, like 3 shows this weekend. Man, that's awesome.
I tried it. I mean, I tell you, dude, because that's the big thing, and that's why I tell newer comics, you
Mhm.
know, people who have been doing it for a few years or whatever. It's all about just making relationships with everybody. So,
Yeah.
you know, said something with every single person that you come across, just because you don't know what that relationship can lead to. Not necessarily, you know, saying make relationships so you can, you know, get some out of these people.
Yeah.
No, nothing
Right.
like that. It's just simply, do
Networking,
you
dude.
want to be yeah,
Yeah.
do you want to be successful in this or not? And so if you do, you know, and I know a lot of the, you know, guys we work with, ladies we work with, as far as comedy goes, a lot of them are socially awkward and everything. They
Yeah.
don't like
I think
to
I fall into that category because
no,
no, you know, like in all
yeah.
legitimacy, like, you know, I'm going to be doing this for 2 years in February, and
Congrats.
I have never felt more normal than when I started doing stand-up comedy. And it's just because it was like this
Yeah.
thing that I fought against. I mean, actively was like, found every reason and excuse to not do it and would talk myself out of it. And I've spent so much energy doing that. But yeah, like there's just something that it's like, I feel so much more relaxed in that
Mhm.
environment. But
Yeah,
but you're
man.
right. But when you're talking about networking, because that's the thing that I think when I was talking with a bunch of the comedians, I'm like, I need to do a better job at that. And you got kids too, so like I'm just taking notes from everything you're working on. I like how it's just like it's TJ after dark.
Right.
Just-
And it's that is the weird thing too, because you try to keep that separation
yeah.
between, who you are on stage and who you are around your kids. But even then, um, I don't know. I feel like I f to me, and some people think differently. They think that the person you are on stage should be more of a character, and that the
Hmm.
person you are in real life should be something separate. And to me, I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense, because when you think about in those moments when you're on stage, if something happens outside of what you prepared for this character,
Yeah.
what do you have to rely on? And you
Right.
have yourself to rely on. But if the person you are day to day isn't somebody who's also funny, and
Hmm.
also entertaining, or can keep, I guess, the show going and whatever, then I don't know. I feel like after a while, it's just going to crash and burn, because you start doing more rooms, you're dealing with more, crowds, or you're dealing with more opinions. And so,
Mm.
people are going to be, you're going to have the drunk person that's there that night who is purposely here to fuck up the entire show.
Yeah.
And that's just their thing. And, but you're going to have other people too who are sitting in the front row just like this, and arms crossed and
Mm.
whatever, will be looking at you, won't smile, won't laugh, nothing like that. And if you go to address them, are you ready to do that in a funny way to where the show keeps going?
Yeah.
Or if you do address them, are you going to make it awkward and then throw off the rest of your set?
Right. And
And
then
so,
and then you're thinking about that. Yeah. That's the thing. That's kind of a 2024 goal, is to get more comfortable doing impressions, but also get more
mhm,
comfortable doing crowd work. And so I
yeah.
have you been to the Hula Hut open mic that they've been putting
I,
on?
when I tell you
Yeah.
that that place is literally 12 minutes from my house,
Yeah.
literally 12
It's
minutes from my
fantastic.
house,
Yeah.
like, and I'm mad that I haven't been over there yet.
Dude, it's
When
an
does it
incredible
happen?
room. So
Yeah.
Caleb's got it, and he's been running it, and it's not like every Wednesday, but he did it like 4 Wednesdays in a row. Took like 2 weeks off, came back for the Wednesdays up to the end of the year, and I think
Okay.
he's talking about making it a Tuesday mic in
Mm,
2024. But dude, I tell you, the
mhm.
room's fantastic. You get a
Yeah.
mix, just like with the arena. You get a mix of comics and people who are just hanging out. And so,
Mhm.
like the last time I was there, I was like, yeah, he gave me like 7 minutes, and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I did, a couple of jokes I was working on for Christmas,
Mhm.
Elf on the Shelf, and all that good stuff, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna practice crowd work, and it was awful. Like it's like
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get into that, because it's
Yep.
like like occasionally things happen. We did a show recently, and it's like there's just some great moments that just happen
Oh,
organically
dog, that
that you
crowd was
can't prepare for. Oh, that crowd was great,
rowdy.
dude.
Was rowdy. It was fun, but it was like at times too, it was like you're in the middle of the joke and you're trying to get
Yeah,
to, through it or whatever, and there'll be certain things that would just come up or whatever. But
yeah,
for me, and I don't know about you, I love that, because then that means the whole room is engaged.
yes,
So now I can make jokes up on the spot.
hmm,
They're gonna keep this connection
yeah,
between me and the crowd. And so if certain things do fall flat, I know that I've built up a rapport with them
hmm,
so that I can still go through the set,
yeah.
and, you know, or get to know them too as audience members, so that I know what kind of material they're going to enjoy the most out of all the stuff that's running through my head
Hmm.
while
Yeah.
while I'm on that stage at that time. Yeah,
Dude,
man.
100%. And you and that show was just, the energy was great. Those are just the fun nights, even if it wasn't like the room wasn't sold out at all, but
Mm,
I couldn't tell. Like it was just
you can
like,
tell.
it was crazy. It was great. It
Yeah.
was so much fun. Did you find your schedule? Cause I know we
Oh,
kicked
yes,
off
sir.
this segment just with hey, let's plug your stuff. And then we didn't.
Yes, sir. So, for at least I can speak for January through March, I got a couple things. So January, so actually on the first of this
Ooh,
this year,
Happy New Year.
I'll be I know, right? I'll be headlining at Sugar. It's in Richardson.
Okay.
They're doing a show there, and then unfortunately had to. I just ended working with Charbar. I don't know if you remember, that was a spot in Saxy that I was doing a lot of
Hmm.
shows with out there. Unfortunately, that has changed, but we're getting a new venue, so stay tuned on that one at least. But then for the 26th, doing a show at Stadium out in Addison, and then 27th, I'll be back at Marietta, Oklahoma,
Hell
doing
yeah.
some stuff out
They got
there.
that cookie factory still?
Yeah, yep, that's
Yeah,
exactly what it is
it's
too.
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like we
Yeah.
we drive down from Ardmore because I did a little time in Ardmore growing up, and we
Hmm.
would drive down to Marietta and get some cookies from the factory.
Wait, you say you did some time, like some time, or like?
Not
Oh,
dude,
okay.
dude. I'm white, man.
I was like,
What?
I was trying to figure it out.
If it's like if it no, it was I think it was called middle school. It felt like it was a gauntlet. Like it was I hated that so much. Like it was
Yeah.
when we came back to Texas, that's when I was like, oh man, like I don't know about. I think asbestos was all on the roof at the school. Like it was crazy. My seventh grade teacher made me cry. He was an algebra teacher,
Oh
Mr.
my
Mr.
God.
Mr. Sneed. You know.
Is that his name
That's
for
his. That
real?
was his name. And the guy was
Oh,
tough, so freaking hard. And it's like I came in halfway through the year, and he just he just leaned into me. Now, ironically, I went and majored in mathematics, so I was like, I had a connection with mathematics, but I was like, man,
mhm.
that guy made my seventh grade old brain just melt. And then I had a great teacher who was my
Uh-huh.
social studies in the same school. He was great, but he mispronounced my name, or he misspelled it like on the board once, and that like
Yeah.
solidified like what bullies called me for like the next 3 years. So he
Oh
called me moon
no.
fart, and it was done.
Moon
And
fart.
that's when middle school was
Oh,
over.
damn.
Yeah.
Not moon fart. Of all-
Yeah, moon fart. Like what the
Right.
what the hell? Gosh, call me Moon Fat or Brian. Not
Something
that.
right.
Like, come on, please. Now people are constantly thinking of butts. Like whenever they would see me, and it was just like,
In our
yeah,
solar system at
in
the
our
same
cellars. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's how wide it was. I was a chunky middle schooler. You ever get the guys that would do the titty twisters like on you?
Come on, man. This has been a normal occurrence since I was like in fourth grade.
I mean, your kids still do it to you today. So
Now I still got jokes about my titties, but no, they don't touch me. Or no, except for the boy. The boy, yeah, the youngest. Yeah, he's at that age, so he's 2, so he's just climbing up on shit. And
yeah,
I'm one of the objects that he climbs. And so
yeah.
sometimes he don't know he's grabbing full strength at a nipple and trying to pull
Oh,
himself up.
dude.
And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
my 8th month old, like it's like I'm beastly. I've always been beastly, and
yeah.
and she just grabs and it just like rips the hair. Like I think
Oh,
got one where I was like, oh, she actually got some hairs out, and I was like, gosh, that
yeah.
hurts. And she loves me. She like every time I walk in the room, like she just
Uh-huh.
lights up like a candle, and it's
Oh,
just like it is
man.
the best. But my 2-year-old, because I'm right there with
Mhm.
you, she's
Yep.
she's doing whatever she can to just not exist. Like I have to watch her like a hawk
So
because
like
she's
jumping off and stuff.
jumping off of stuff, running, not coming back. That's the thing that's actually the most dangerous. Like
Whoa.
she got out and she took off down
Mhm.
the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and I was like, I had to run. I was like, hey, Izzy,
Mhm.
stop. And she's like,
Yeah.
and I was like, so I ran. She got big trouble. And it's just like, I'm looking forward to her having some fear at some point, being afraid of something
Yeah.
at least to make her run towards me and not from me. But we'll get there. We'll get there for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing with my son right now. It's being fearless, but being reckless at the same time.
Hmm.
So in the sense that he's just running into walls and shit, and
Yeah.
he's just good. He's good. He'll run into walls head first. He'll turn around, look at you, and now you have to solidify: is this like should we act hurt
Hmm.
or should we play it off?
Yeah.
And I play it off every single time.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
the
think
right
I don't
call.
think I don't think my son knows pain.
Are you worried about raising boys like in our society today?
Ooh, yeah, because I have two boys.
Hmm.
Because I got my nephew had moved in with this,
Oh,
and
that's
so
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah. So he's the same age as my daughter, who's
Hmm.
now 8, and he's gonna be turning 8 here in a couple months. But Yeah, it's a whole different thing because I started out with this boy who, I started out with him from the beginning. So,
Yeah.
I've been learning how to be a parent to a boy, and then now I got a 7-year-old here, almost 8-year-old,
Yeah.
and having to figure that out and just
Boy
kind of jump
energy is pretty daggum crazy.
dog. And
Yeah.
so this guy does not. He never walks anywhere.
It's always
He
a
always
run.
runs. It
Yeah.
always runs.
I'm jealous of that. Like that's something that I'm like, I would love it if adults just did this because it would be so.
Yes.
Because when you see an adult running, it's like there's a reason. Like when you see a kid, it's like that's speed A.
Yeah.
And they kind of build like I don't know if your kids. It feels like in the
Mhm.
Flintstones where they kind of build up speed and then they're like, all right, there we go.
Yes, and so he's literally
Yeah.
everywhere. And now he's calmed down a lot just because we've had to set, more, ground rules, boundaries, those kind of things, so he doesn't get too crazy. But he eats all the time, doesn't
Yeah.
stop. Small kid though, small kid.
Yeah.
He wants to play football,
Ooh,
and
I got a
so
question about that. Is that is that
yeah,
is that what do you think about that?
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to, just because I was one of those people that have been educated by Will Smith in that movie Concussions,
Hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, I don't want my son to have CTE, and
And it brings some like,
yeah,
and not that it like should fully excuse, but sometimes when you see
hmm
like these like just horrible stories of this like the dude beating up on his girlfriend or something, and it's like then
hmm
it's like yeah he's had constant concussions, like
yes, right,
like and so I'm with you 100% because when like when Mikey was like 3 and he's like
yeah,
5 now, like the
hmm
guy is just solid muscle. It feels like I
hmm
felt like I was wrestling a lion. He's just
yes,
like I'm like for his size, like this is scary, and I'm like
hmm
no, because I played football, I
yeah,
did, and I got hurt. I got hurt real
yeah,
bad, and I was like,
hmm
oh, you know what I really like soccer and baseball. Yeah,
right,
you can get hurt, but not every single play,
yes,
and it's just
exactly,
and it's that constant repeated that I was like for me I
hmm
told Jules like I think I'm in the no. I think if the boys
yeah,
come and they want to play football, my answer is no, and
hmm
we'll do other sports, because we're doing
yep,
baseball and soccer right now, and I was like I'm good with that.
hmm
I'll put you in jujitsu. Like actually like that's where I think it's
yep,
better so you can learn how to defend yourself, not
hmm
not into football. And we're from Texas, and
yeah.
it feels blasphemous to a degree.
Yes, not just throwing your bodies into each other, something that is more, you know, structured.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, like when it comes to doing martial arts and stuff like that, you're learning how to protect yourself and defend,
Hmm.
and I guess you're learning offense and defense at the same exact time.
Yeah. Yeah.
With football, you're either learning offense or defense, and you have to then just use your body and whatever they're asking you to do.
Hmm.
And so when it comes to martial arts, there is more focus on you as the individual, protect yourself, and this is how you also win at
Hmm.
this thing. And
Yeah.
so I do like that more, and I think that's exactly what we need for my nephew. Is something like that where it is more discipline.
Yeah.
But and like you were saying too about your son, it's just that pure like strength, and it seems like they're just solid muscle. Same thing for my two boys,
Yeah.
and I think they would be great in wrestling. That's what I did
Hmm.
in school. I did football and then I did wrestling.
Dude, I
Yeah.
haven't ever done this joke, but I've been working on it. And I told it to
Yeah.
I got to do a show, and I think his name's Chris, and he used to be a former
Mhm.
wrestler. But I
Yeah,
told
yeah.
him I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
awesome, dude, great, like, dude, that guy gets so funny. We're gonna have him on the show coming up. And
Yeah.
I told him I was like, isn't it weird to anybody that wrestling is the only sport that at the professional level is just theater? It's like because high school and college wrestling is a sport, but
Yes.
the pro version of it is fake.
Right. Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm like, that is the only sport that I can think of that is a sport, and then
Mhm.
the pro version, not at all.
And they're just like, fuck all the rules that you learned all
Yeah,
these years.
show,
Let's do
make
what
it a
we want.
show. Yeah,
Yeah, make it a show. Break
make
a
it
leg.
break a leg. Let's go.
Break that guy's legs, actually.
Yeah,
You know, you should
yeah.
do that.
Exactly. Oh man.
But yeah, it's like that kind of thing. That's and I loved wrestling, man, because I liken wrestling to comedy in a
Yeah.
sense that comedy is a individual sport,
Mhm.
but it does have team aspects. So
Yeah.
like where I go out there on the mat, I wrestle, I do my match or whatever, and how I win affects our team score.
Mhm.
And so same thing with comedy. I can go out there and I do my set, it could be 7 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. How I do in my set contributes how the overall show goes.
Mhm.
So even if I'm not necessarily the standout for the show, I need to make sure that I'm not one of the people that they're saying, "Wow, man, we liked everybody else except for him."
That
Like
dude.
that, like
Yeah.
right. You might want to cut him,
It's
maybe
like,
don't bring
yeah,
him back,
yeah.
like that kind of thing. But but how you do contributes to this whole thing. And even then, what I've done better about is not focusing on just even my individual performance and making
Yeah.
sure that I do well, but also too making sure that the night is fun.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I like producing, a lot and putting together certain lineups and everything because the way that you curate it can be people who are similar so
Mhm.
that you do keep that same style of comedy
That
going,
vibe. Yeah.
but you can also too break it up with people who are different. And in a way, because they're different from everybody else, it makes them stand out or makes you appreciate what they brought to the table, alongside with the other people that were, that you're having a great time with as well. And so yeah, and so but and even doing that the way I do it when I'm not producing the show, I'm just performing.
Mhm.
I'll make callbacks to certain jokes heard throughout the night, or like when we were doing that show at Hyenas, there were
Yeah.
certain things that were just being said and whatever that you did a joke right before I got on stage. So there was a
I
lot of
love
things.
setting people up, man. Like, cause,
Oh
and
my
again, like I
god.
have no problem being the butt of the joke. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, I'll set myself up for somebody to come in and just like slam it in. And it's like, yeah, dude, make fun of me, please.
When I say that alley oop was putting the ball right there on the rim,
Yeah.
and all I had to do was just this to push it. Like, no, you set it up perfectly. And and again, because I said this to you that night, you did such an awesome job in being that host and making sure that the energy either was here, it was up,
Mm-hmm.
or if it did come down from like another person's set, you brought it back up so that the crowd was ready to go.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that before when it comes to hosting. It's something that you learn,
Yeah.
over time. And some people they got it right off the bat. Other people they just need to learn the
I
different
definitely
things.
feel like that
Yeah.
was a really good, and for those who are
Mhm.
listening who won't know, like I
Yeah.
wasn't scheduled to be the host that night. I was a guest,
Yeah.
and the host got delayed, didn't show, and so then they put me on to host because you can like as Paulina, she said that like, well, for some reason if Mike doesn't make it, you can headline, like you've got that experience. So
Mhm.
how do we structure it? And so they
Yep.
they say, hey, Brian, host. I was like, good. I've been trying to get more hosting
Mhm.
experience, and because like I felt like I've done it a little bit, and every time I'm getting better. But I also look back at like when I hosted versus when I performed, and it's like
Mhm.
it's a different muscle in the same system. So it's
Yes.
like, all right, my biceps are, performing, hosting. I got to work on those tries or something like that. Cause it's like,
Mhm.
it's in the same system, but it is different. And I know that, like, and I've talked to you about this, and I don't know if you have this kind of the same kind of energy, but when there's a gap of confidence, like, and this
Yeah.
goes into like, I'm not necessarily super sure. I think
Mhm.
you feel there's a different energy, but when I'm totally confident in what I'm doing and saying, like I can
Yes.
go in any different direction, and
Yep.
it's funny and it's fun, and we have
Mhm.
a good time. And the only way for me to fill in that gap is by doing,
Yep.
is by getting
Mhm.
out there, and it's like, okay, cool, now I'm comfortable with this bit. I've got it to
Mhm.
where like, and I do you ever like forget a joke, and then after the show you're like, dadgummit, I missed that
Oh,
one. Yeah, dude.
it's been times where if I didn't necessarily forget the joke, it was that I may have messed up on a part
Yeah.
of the joke. And oh man, I tell you, like in the first couple years doing comedy, if I would ever did that on stage, it would have ate at
Hmm.
me for months that I messed it up. But I've finally gotten to that point. I mean, I'm 4 years in, but
Yeah.
I finally got to that point where this year,
Hmm.
where I was doing more and more shows. So it wasn't a thing of where I could, in the beginning, where I could sit down, practice for a whole 2 weeks to do a 5 minute
Yeah.
set. You know what I'm saying? And because I was just so invested in just locked in and just wanted to be just so good. Um, but it was good that I was doing that. But now I'm balancing job,
Hmm.
family, and trying to be a comic at the same time. And whatever else comes up, day to day. And
Yeah.
so I don't necessarily get all the time to rehearse
Hmm.
or when I do get that downtime, I literally want to lay down. Like I want to go to sleep. Like
Do you have a chair? You're like, is
sitting
there
in
is there a chair? Like
right.
that's Dad's chair right there. Like y'all.
Oh no, not yet,
Okay,
not yet.
we have a
We
dad
work.
chair.
That's
Like
so talking about.
like
See,
get your ass up, kid. Like this
yep,
is. Can I get a chair like this, Dad? Sure. When you get a job and you have your
yeah.
own place, Dad. Like we like I got 6 kids, so
Hmm.
all they share rooms, things like that.
Oh
My
yeah.
oldest was like, hey, Dad, can I get my own room? Yeah, when you move out.
Right. I'm gonna tell you,
I ain't
pay
made of money. I'm a stand-up comic. What the fuck what do you want from me?
right. And you know what? And I think that's another thing too that's funny about our kids is that we have to keep it real with them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I know that I'm supposed to be dad, I'm supposed to be, mom or whatever, and make it seem like I'm magic, and I can just make all these things happen
I have a
and
theory about
everything.
that magic though, is that
Yeah.
because like even my wife was saying like, oh my gosh, it's really hard. Holidays, we're busy, we're doing all these things. It felt like when we were kids, it was just this magical time and everything just kind of came together. She talked to her mom about it, and her mom's like, what are you talking about? It was stressed out, like it was crazy.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, we don't
Yeah.
pick up on that. We pick up on the excitement,
Mhm.
and so you are like, I always am like, yeah, you are making those memories, and it is magical for them, which is I think a beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
hopefully they forget all the dumb stuff that we like, oh man, I messed up that.
Because you want your kids to remain kids the entire time, right? And
Yeah.
so you don't want them to grow up too fast and have to be exposed to too much. So
Yeah.
you try to do your best and let me not let out my frustrations and things that I may even be worried about or anxious about. I don't want to put that on you because that's not your problem. That's
Yeah.
mine. And so, I do whatever I can to make sure that it does seem like every single day these lights just stay on because I want them to.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, dad has to go to work to make money so that they can. Mom has to go to work so that they can stay on. This food, we don't just magically appear. Yes, you do know that it does come from a store,
Hmm.
but we don't just go in and just grab things.
Right.
We go in there and we have to pay in order to take these things out. And so, but these are things that I don't want my kids to ever have to worry about until it's their time to.
Did
And
you
so,
worry about that stuff when you were growing up?
no, I mean, my parents did a great job early on and me not picking up on certain things that was going on.
Hmm.
Um, but there were certain spats that were going on. There's a period of time where my dad didn't have a job,
Hmm.
or um, my mom, she ended up being on disability
Oh no.
around my senior year, junior and senior year
Hmm.
of high school, because she has fibromyalgia. And
Oh, that
so, but it
sucks.
took a long time to figure out what the hell it
Well,
was.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah. When you
Mhm.
have like, and it's both. There's an emotional response when you
Yeah.
finally get an answer. There's a little bit of like, okay, now I know, and then there's still like oh man, like okay, now I know. That's the
Yep.
same way with me. Like I was like for 10 years, 10, 12 years, like what's wrong with me? Why can't I not lose weight? Like what's going on? Finally
Yep.
found that I'm just a low T beta male. And it's like, all right. Yeah. And it shocks people. Like you got all the chest hair in your beard and you got 6 kids. And I'm like, I'm strong willed.
This is because I want it to happen.
Yeah. Like I get my mindset on something. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, we're going to go. But it was, yeah, for me, like
Yeah.
it was
Mhm.
it was very sad and very cathartic, It's like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah. So that sucks that your mom had to go through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, and she's, just it's still a day-to-day thing, and whatever. But those were different things that we were dealing with, and then my own health. Find out that I had an autoimmune
Oh
disease when I
no.
was in high school, and everything, and then sister unexpectedly coming along. We're 6 years apart,
Hmm.
but at the time, my mom had a tube stat, and so like this wasn't supposed to happen at all, and it did.
God
And
works. God works in His ways, man.
it's nice to know that while me and my sister can't swim, my dad did have one child that was the greatest swimmer of
Yeah,
all, and
she
was able to
she's
get
a she's a champ, man.
a chance, right? But
Greatest of
you
all
know,
time. Goat. Let's go.
like Michael Phelps times 10.
Yeah, dude.
And
That guy's a
but
pussy. Like,
he's nothing compared to that sperm cell.
hell no.
But but yeah, man, no, it's those different things that just came up. But what I appreciated about my dad and my mom, it wasn't a thing of where it's like, okay, we're dealing with these things. Now I need you to help kick in,
Hmm.
around here. Can you get an after school job or whatever and all that. My dad was dead set on when I was a kid and told me this since I was little that no, your job is school
Yeah.
and you go to school, you get that done. When you come home, if you want to go do a sport, go do it. That's
Yeah.
what you do. But when you come home, do your homework, do whatever chores your mother's asking you to do. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all we asking you to do. That's it. And so he kept it that way the entire time. So I didn't work until I was in college.
Hmm.
And that was just because, trying to make up the remainder of my tuition and other expenses. And then, yeah, and then my first real job wasn't until I graduated from college.
Yeah.
And so, but that's only because of my parents,
Yeah.
because they made it that way
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, how about you,
Oh,
man? I don't
dude,
know.
it
I don't think
feels.
we ever got into like as
Yeah.
far as
The
growing up.
it feels like a very similar story with some degrees.
Mhm,
Like my dad, was always like school and sports are your job, and I ended
mhm.
up having a baseball scholarship in college, which
Oh,
is a job.
yeah.
Like, dude.
Right.
The thing is that as a if anybody's ever ridden on a bus with a bunch of 20-year-old dudes, it is a game of don't fall asleep,
Yeah.
and that is driving, riding in a vehicle and
Mhm.
not falling asleep
Yeah.
is impossible for me. So it was a nightmare. Like, I'm like, all right, guys, just I'm gonna sit back here and get ready to
Yeah.
punch. I had to, like, it was fight or flight all
Yeah.
throughout those 4 years.
Mhm.
But we actually, like, I grew up, like, I guess before I was 16, like my family was
Mhm.
well to do. Like we had anything that we could want. We had country
Mhm.
club and things like that, and played
Mhm.
golf. And then when I was 17, we lost everything. And so my dad was like out of work for, like, I mean, I think there was a year where he just laid on the couch. Like,
Mm.
he was so beaten.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like, and for me, I saw, like, my mom step up in that role, and people were
Mhm.
telling her to leave my dad. And she's like, no,
Mm.
we're gonna, like, we're married. Like, okay. So
Mhm.
she, picked up the torch, kept moving the family forward. We were almost became homeless. I remember we'd get in the car, like, hey kids, we got to get in the car, because the repo people were coming and trying to, get the car. And so there's, like, for me though, I think there's a beauty in that. I really have this. It has really helped me as an adult, not necessarily find worth in things.
Mm.
So it's like,
Mhm.
I don't have a new car. Like, my truck's 20 years old. It
Mhm.
runs. Cool. And my mother-in-law just got a really nice car, and
Yeah.
it's great. And I'm celebrating that beauty of that car. And it's like, yeah, at
Uh-huh.
some point maybe, but I don't need that to feel like a man, like somebody who, it's like, no,
Mhm.
I am. I feel I'm happy who I am, and I do
Yeah.
appreciate having that life experience, because there's one thing that I don't. It's weird because I've heard a lot of friends. I got a lot of friends who've immigrated here,
Mhm.
and different generations, and so, like, and what I've heard from, like, immigrant families talk about how they forgot to teach their kids about the struggle, And so
Mm,
they end up like having this kind of like gap in, this relationship where it's like
mm, mm.
there is something good about struggling through
Yes.
things, and
Yep.
and because it does it makes you stronger, makes you better. It teaches you a lot, as opposed to
Yeah.
like when things are just handed to you. So I have a great
Mhm.
appreciation for gifts, because it's like, yeah, I remember when Christmas was pretty daggum lean. It's just like,
Mhm.
well, they
Yep.
were like, okay, but it was like,
Mhm.
and like I won't go into it on the podcast because my dad is listening, but yeah, like, but it's like, for me as a father,
Mhm.
no, like I know I can relate how that can feel. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
imagine just like, okay, you're a provider, you're a father, and hey, we're gonna take that away from you.
Right.
And now it's like, who are you? And so just having that
Mhm.
kind of hardship, happen.
Mhm.
But then now he's doing great. So he got back on the horse, and got back to work, and
Thank
then we
God.
were able to, like, they were able to buy a house. Like, it was great, because I remember, because we ended up, we were like a day away from we were being evicted from the
Mm.
house, from we there, he was renting a house, and we didn't know where we were gonna live. In the ninth
Yeah.
hour, in the 11th hour, my mom found a trailer park that we were able to
Mm.
move into. So we went and moved
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
trailer park, and so I remember when I was in college, though, like, we went and saw the Scooby Doo movie, and after the movie, my
Mhm.
dad announced that they finally bought a house. So this is like years we lived in the
Oh.
trailer park. And it was
Yeah.
honestly, like, again, like, I walked into the
Mhm.
trailer, and I was like, "Hey, we got air conditioning. Like, we're in Texas. Like, what else
Yep.
do I need? This is great."
Mhm.
And there was a lot of good
Exactly.
memories that we had in that trailer park. I'd make up stories about neighbors at school. I had a story about a guy, I called him the Howler. And it was like, he would just, at night, he'd get out on his porch and he'd just howl at that moon. A howler. And I make up some crazy stories, and I had a lot of fun. Like, that's one of the things, like, I remember when I look back at, life, like, I wasn't necessarily like the most like stand up kid in terms of it. Like,
Mm.
I could be very manipulative, and that's one of the things that I ended up spending time, like, in high school, what I would
Yeah.
just do, called run experiments, where it's like, all right, I'm going to tell somebody something that's true and see if they believe it. And then I'm gonna tell somebody
Mhm.
something that's not true and see if they believe it. And then just
Yeah.
gather. And so then I was like, I could get, like, I learned how to convince people of absurd things. And so I convinced my teacher that my parents didn't live in Texas, that I was responsible. Like, and I got in a lot of trouble for that. Like,
Oh.
but I carried it. I carried that torch for 4 months before my parents showed up to the football game. And then that teacher was
Mm.
like, "You have some nerve not living in
Yeah.
this state." And my parents were like, "Brian, you're in trouble." And so I
Right.
got beat.
I'm like, who told you that?
It's like,
Like,
oh crap.
yeah.
Oh man, my plan. Because it was so funny, because I was like, I turned 18 and it was my senior year, and I was just like, I'm an adult. I don't need my parents to sign for anything because I'm 18.
Yeah.
I'll sign whatever you want,
Mhm.
etc. And it's not like I had bad grades. I was just like, no, I'm 18. I
Mhm.
will sign, not them. And so that's where I was like, oh, they can't sign this. They're in Florida.
See,
Oh,
I got in trouble for doing that back in sixth grade,
ooh,
where I was doing that. I was forging my dad's signature, and because
oh yeah,
I figured out how to write his signature and everything, and so and I was doing it on dumb shit, like on like trips for like field trip
field trips.
slips or whatever, sign his name and
I'm
whatever.
just
There
saving you
was one
time, Dad.
time, you're right? You didn't know about this.
This is just paperwork.
But no, one time I got busted cheating on a spelling test, and so
Oh, how do
yeah,
you
so I
cheat
had
on a
like
spelling test?
dog. So I had the words written on a piece of paper
Okay.
slid underneath the test.
Ah,
So she heard me lifting up the paper and it like rattled a little bit.
yeah.
Came over, checked it. So I was right there. It was so stupid. It was dumb. But they sent home a note instead of giving it to my dad. I forged his signature, and she knew it wasn't his signature.
Oh,
I'm like, I don't know how she knew, but she knew. Then she called him. Dog, worst, like the worst. That
what
was the first
happened?
time I ever got a grown man punch to the chest, and just how it
Oh,
like knocks all the air out of
yeah.
your body. That's exactly what it
You want to act
was.
like a
And so
man?
you're right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, oh
That's
man,
exactly what it was.
that dad
And
strength too.
oh man, I'm waiting for my grown man strength to kick in. I think it's not gonna happen for my generation.
Hmm.
I think we'll be the first generation we don't get grown man strength.
It's all that
And
estrogen.
I think that's what it is, or the
All that
microplastics or
mess with
something.
microplastics just poison the. We're the weakest males. Don't invade us if Russia is listening. Please do not invade. We're
We're
really
not ready.
strong here. We got lots of guns.
On Call of Duty, we got
Call
plenty.
of Duty, man. We'll
We got 'em
take
all
you
unlocked.
out. TDM USA versus Russia. We'll settle it. Let's go.
Exactly, man. But no, man, that was, and I think I love too that you brought up about having a howler in your neighborhood and everything. I had one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we called her Kathy. She was a crackhead though, but
Ah.
yeah, so she would literally come to your house late at night, like 3 in the morning. I remember one time it was 3 a.m. She knocked on our door
Oh
and
wow.
was like, "Can I use your phone?" Like, lady, do you know what time it is?
Yeah.
And she's like, "I have to use your phone." And
This is
no,
before
like
cell
my dad's like,
phones
no,
too. Yeah.
yeah, it's before cell phones. Or even when people had cell phones, but it wasn't
Yeah. It wasn't
like on a certain
like
level,
we don't even have a home phone. It's just we got me and my wife's cell phone.
Yeah,
Like
we still had a
why
home
would I
phone.
pay for somebody to call me at dinner who I do not want to talk to?
You're right. Yes.
You want me to pay $54 a month for that privilege for Verizon? I think y'all are the crackheads. You know, like,
We look like it now, though. Definitely, the way that we're kind of like stuck
oh,
to them
dude.
and everything, and the
Yeah.
addiction is real, man.
Dude, yeah, I've noticed that. Like one of the things I do is I'll put the phone like face down so I don't see, and I'm like, no, and I only let a couple of notifications come through because,
Same.
and I told work and I was like, I'm not installing Teams or Slack or any of those apps on my phone. If you need me, you can call me.
Exactly.
But I am not going to sit here and be like, all right, I'm just going to check my phone for, see if, Julie's texted me about something or whatnot. Oh, work message. Okay. Cause no matter what, I will click on it. I have no discipline when I'm like, especially when I see something with work. I'm like, and so I told my boss, I was like, if you want to double my salary, I'll put those apps on.
Right.
But because then I will never leave work. When I'm off work, I'm off work, man. And this new job has been so nice.
Yeah.
So
What
you have
did
a
you do
howler
for the new
cat.
job?
What's up?
The new job.
So I've
Is that
been
new
there
or
for
recently new?
13 months now.
Oh,
So
great. Yeah, yeah.
prior to that, so I was an independent engineer for 5 years. So I just did subcontracting through a lot of different projects, and that was a lot of fun. And then in last year, the like as a subcontractor, a lot of contracts just started pausing. It was like, hey, we're gonna pause. We don't know what's going on with the economy and this project, it can wait. And I'm like, I get it, man. And it's like, but I was like, all right, at some point I was like, yeah, we're definitely spending more than we're making now. And so then I just started looking and ended up putting out a call on my YouTube channel. I was like, hey guys, could use some help. And it was about 6 months we were making half of what we were making, which was meaning that we're just, pulling out of savings.
Yeah.
And I was like, if anybody anybody got any people who are looking for hiring, and I got a couple of different leads and followed them up, and I actually almost went to work for Amazon too.
Really?
Yeah. So they were
My
gonna
dad works for them.
for the gaming division and stuff. So it's like,
wow,
so I was
yeah.
like, I made it like to the final interview round, etc. Yeah, that was like nerve wracking. Like I suck at interviews. Like it's like, oh, you do stand up comedy, you're great at talking. Yeah, but then in an interview, it's like I feel like I like fall apart. I'm like I talk too much.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And sometimes, it can work in your benefit if you do talk too much in an interview,
mm-hmm.
as long as it's guiding you in the right direction.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Or you can even make this a very random convo where the interview it's not an interview anymore.
yeah,
It's more of a conversation. You're getting to know, someone is going to potentially be a manager of yours, supervisor of yours.
yeah,
And I've noticed that that's helped me in the past where, yeah, I'm knowledgeable on what the work is supposed to be, but you want to make sure that I'm somebody you can actually work with.
mm-hmm.
And so that's where I try to focus more on the conversation itself instead of me reading off all these different accolades that I have,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it's been a good job. It's a remote. So I've been working remote for like 6 years now, fully
Oh,
remote, and it's,
yeah.
and that's like going back to the kids and stuff. Like the thing that breaks my heart now is the kids will
Hmm.
like break through the door. Hey, Dad, let's play, and I'm like, oh man, I
Hmm.
want to play, son. I do want to
Yep.
play.
Hmm.
Gabe, my youngest son, he brought up like
Yeah.
all his monster trucks today, so we were playing monster trucks, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was fun and it was great because I've been off all this week, so this has been a nice like a
Hmm.
holiday. But during the work week, it's like, oh man, I gotta provide, and it's
Yep.
like it's a hard balance, and it's like it's
Hmm.
because I don't know if you've ever heard this expression, but like being a workaholic is the only disease that is rewarded, because
Hmm.
like if you work yourself to death, you're gonna have plenty of money because
Right.
like that's the reward there. But then you end up like, oh, I never truly lived. So I
Hmm.
always try like after work to just pour time in with the
Yeah.
kids, not
Hmm.
quality time. Sometimes it's like, all right, I'm just gonna lay here on the floor and y'all can jump on me if you want or whatnot, but I'm here, I'm available,
Hmm.
as
Being
opposed to
present.
yeah.
Being present. And I think that's one thing that my dad taught me. Not just being, a dad himself, but in, simply just one thing he's always just telling me is that in anything that we do in any facet of life, or um, any group that you see, any organization or whatever, there needs to be people who are present
Hmm.
always,
Yeah.
and certain people who they know they can trust in, they can reach out to, and whatever. So you do have to put in your time, but also too, you have to put in your time when it comes to the things, like more like work and
Mm.
things like that. But when it comes to your family, it needs to be you just being visible,
Yeah.
and sometimes all I can do at the end of the day after getting home is just sit down right there on the couch after homework has been done and everything. And my nephew gets to go on about different stuff he's got going on. Usually it's Pokemon related.
Yeah.
um
Love it.
Yeah, and then my daughter, she's trying to get into Pokemon. She really doesn't like it, but
Hmm.
she does it because my nephew does. And so, but she actually just got on her music memory team at school,
Mm.
and which I never knew was a thing that people were competing in. But that's something that she's doing, that she's getting really excited about, or just being right there just for the smallest one, the 2-year-old, to be able to throw shit at me.
Yeah.
Is really all it is. And it's just, like an hour, 2 hours, whatever. Um, but that means a lot to them.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because when they only see one parent, they start to pick up on that. Like,
Yeah.
why do I only see this one parent?
Hmm.
And everything. And so, yeah, no, you're doing the right thing, man. You're visible. That's what you're
Yeah.
supposed
And that's the thing. Like when it's all said and done, it's gonna be interesting because,
to. Hmm.
like, I think about it because people, I what level of, what insults do you get? Because I know you've posted some
Hmm.
stuff online,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
generally curious because I don't
Hmm.
think I haven't really met too many rude people like in the real world, etc. Who like maybe they're, oh, you're just drunk, okay, whatever, but the online, man, people like have venom,
Hmm.
dude. So like what kind of insults do people toss your way?
Online.
Yeah.
Not the too crazy, because I'm not. When it comes to online presence, it's nothing on the scale of what you're
Mhm.
at. My shit is mostly just posting small clips and everything, or certain sets or whatever, and putting it out on the channel. And so, yeah, I think when I look at some of the shorts that I've had, from some of the comments I get for some of the videos on YouTube and things like that, it's been mostly positive.
Oh, good.
If there's been, I mean, there was only one guy who said, "This guy is hilarious. I'm going to start investing in
Hmm.
him." And I'm like, "That's great." He sent me no money at all. But yeah, we
Liar.
go see, right?
A bunch of lying sons of guns, man.
But eventually, right? But but that's the thing. It's nice to receive that kind of stuff. I would say most of the shit that's said to me is in person, but I think with
Oh, okay.
me, yeah, and that could be people at shows
Hmm.
and everything. I have certain hecklers, and that shit don't last long. I usually address it right then and there, and then we good for the rest of the show. Or I've had to walk somebody. I walked somebody before, and but she deserved it. And I walked my own mother before, so I really have no, I don't feel bad about walking people at all. But yeah, no, it's been hecklers at shows. It'll be some rowdy people at the end of the show or whatever that may have like certain things to say. But growing up being bullied as a kid or
Yeah.
whatever, man, uh, like none of this shit bothers me because for me, when I get up on stage, I don't mean any of this shit in the
Yeah.
sense that I'm not trying to hurt somebody's feelings with
Right.
it. I'm just speaking my perspective. I give a whole lot of stories, but if I give an opinion about something, it's because that's genuinely how I feel. And you can try to change my opinion on it, but I'm not asking you to.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't care
This
to
wasn't an
literally
invitation for you
right.
to.
I don't care for you to do it. But yeah, no, and so but I made the conscious decision for myself with starting comedy is to stop being so bothered by shit.
Yeah.
And so because there's a lot of things that happen, day-to-day, regular things that happen, and a lot of it is minuscule. But for some people that sends them over the edge. And I try to I promise myself I'm gonna laugh at myself more
Hmm.
in the sense that shit that I do get upset about. Like one thing that does get me, like quickest way to piss me off is driving. Anything on the road, as far as
Oh,
like,
like road rage and stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no, that's the quickest way to get me, and all that because driving ain't that damn hard. And why are people so? And so,
Some people just
but
suck.
yeah, just real bad at it.
Yeah.
And it's like the car itself doesn't change. It's the same car you drove yesterday. Why can't you do it today? But it's that kind of stuff that can really get me. But if I do find myself mad in that moment, I'll literally find myself laughing at that reaction 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
And but I think that's what helps me too in writing material, where I'm able to be so observant of myself that I see my reaction to certain shit and that I take and I'm like, well, there's something here because
Hmm.
I'm not the only person that responds like this
Yeah.
or the only person that deals with these things. And so I just, record it, voice record it, write it down, whatever. So I don't forget it. And then try to turn it into something, from there. But I know by doing that, by putting more of a positive outlook on shit, not a lot of shit bothers me. And it's just only thing, like I said, really the two things that can get me is um stupid people on the road or things that when it comes to my family. That's
Yeah.
that's it. Other than that, it's really hard. It takes a lot for me to get
Have you ever
there.
said like keep my wife's name off your damn lips?
I definitely did jokingly. I tried to write a joke around that time about it. And I did it. Did I perform it before that? I don't know. It was in the red room where I did it. Did that joke. And I remember for that show, it just fell flat. It did
Yeah.
not go well at all. But hey, that's why we do it. And go up there and just fall flat on our faces. Yeah, over and
For
over
you
until
guys, we do it for you.
until we find, you know, this hour or find this half hour that that it works.
Are you ever gonna make a special?
Maybe. I think for me, and I've talked to my wife about it a lot. I think for me, I'm not a hour special type of comic.
Hmm.
I don't foresee myself,
Even like a 30 minutes. I'm just kind of curious
no,
because like that's
yeah,
that's a goal that I do have personally. Like for me,
for sure.
I don't know
Yes.
when I'll be there. I know I'm not there
Mhm.
yet, but yeah,
Yeah. I don't like because I know for me, so longest amount of time I've done is 40 minutes.
Okay.
And even in that was a fair amount of crowd work,
Hmm.
but you'll see that from the people who are hitting the road. Your professionals and everything that they're getting up there, they're doing an hour plus, but they do have a lot of crowd work in it,
Hmm.
or they are working new material out and everything, but they're trying to make it a whole
Hmm.
cohesive, just good time in those moments. But trying to build up to where they do have that special, where it is an hour's worth of material. And do I have 40 minutes worth of material? No. I mean, I do if I sat down and said I got more than an hour. I got 2 hours. I could just sit here and
Right.
just say all the shit that I ever wrote. And no, it's not going to be good enough. It's not going to all work together. But I think for me, my main goal has been, and I'm finally being honest with myself about it, is being a host.
Mhm.
I think that is really where I want to be, is being a professional host. So it is in the sense of doing it for comedy, but also too, when it comes to TV, when it comes to um, shit, award shows, those kind of things, whatever. I know the radio, like
Yeah.
I know for me, I'm somebody that's really good on their feet, and I have, certain personality and things like that. See, like for me and you, us being fluffy brothers,
Yeah,
they
dude. I'm actually
automatically.
holding my pouch with my hands this time and playing with my belly. I don't know why I do it. You can never see it on camera, but now
Now
people who
people
are
know.
listening now they know. Yeah. So if you're watching this, guys, drop a comment. Fluff Brothers, so we know you made it to the secret call out. Let's go.
But for us, man, when we hit the stage, people automatically see how comfortable we look.
Yeah.
Like, and they just want to give us a hug. They just, they see us as a big teddy bear. So they automatically fall in love right off the bat. And so, and I smile a lot. So like when I
Yeah.
smile a lot and I'm being just fat, and everything, it
just
works.
just being fat. What are you
Just
doing
being
today?
fat. Yeah.
Today I'll be fat. We'll see
I'm
about
gonna be
tomorrow.
fat. I'm gonna be fat and smile, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. But like doing that, I think it helps a lot in making that instant connection with people, and so and I think too when you get up there and you look comfortable, you look like you're ready to have a good time. People can't help but to do the same thing,
Mhm.
and so yeah, I think that's what helps and what can guide me in that. I think one of the things I want to be able to do for sure is reality TV, being able to
Oh.
host reality TV. Um, because me and my wife, we just sit here, we watch all these different reality shows. We like the challenge shows, like those ones where,
Yeah.
there's a whole competition for some big money at the end, whatever. Um, they need some more like people who are just gonna, really just I don't know what's the way to put it. It's call them out on their shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's put everything out here on the table because me as the host, I see everything.
Yeah.
They're showing me footage the whole time while I'm not here in front of you announcing some game that you're about to do. What do you think I'm doing? I'm watching footage the entire time. And they're bringing me bits and pieces that are most important. So I know everything that's going down. We just need to expose that shit off the rip and just and just keep it going. You need somebody who's real petty, with it and whatever. But that's the kind of stuff that I think would be so much fun and things that I can do day in and day out and not get tired of it because it just changes all the time. And radio is something I've always wanted to do since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Um, and because we had a big radio show and it was Russ Parr in the morning and they were in multiple cities, and they were really big too. It was a hip hop station and all that or whatever, but it wasn't just the music; it was the extra games and
Mhm.
other people who were on the show. So it made it. It was like a big family, and this is who you're hearing every single morning.
Yeah.
And so I, that kind of avenue too has always been something that I wanted to get into. So yeah, so no, I don't see myself necessarily being being like a Dave Chappelle or
Mhm.
like a Bill Burr in the sense that they can go and they do
Good
specials every.
examples for this show.
They, at least the Bill Burr part. but
Have you? There's
yeah.
another comic. I'm forgetting his last name. His name's Chris as well. And
Hmm.
so like we were, yeah, he was on the show with us in Fort Worth. And
Hmm.
so we did a follow up show, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'll
Yeah.
be your discount Louis C.K. tonight, and don't worry, we got discount Bill Burr coming up next." So
Yeah.
that killed the room. The room did like, really like that. Yeah,
Yeah, man. And see, it's that kind of stuff right there, man. It makes this all just fun. And I think some people lose that and I
yeah,
try not to I don't want to be like some of these people that are like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this for 6 years and, why am I not getting these opportunities or whatever?" It's cuz you're sitting here crying about it.
yeah.
It's like, "No, go make these people you have to make people want to have you on this show." And so, yeah, part of it is you. But if you dropping the ball whenever you get these opportunities, how do you expect more opportunities to come from it? And so you have to be serious about it and you have to keep doing it over and over until you figure out what works for you. And for me, it's always been the being fat and smiling. It's just what's worked for me. And and also just being open to talk about anything, but also to being so quick with certain things,
Hmm.
and being able to be in the moment, I think is where some comics kind of lose it, where they're so focused on writing so much,
Hmm.
like they want to have this hour, that's why part of me is like, like to new comics, I'm like, hey, fuck that hour. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here, but
Say what you want.
if you would believe it, but no, we were talking about dicks at the beginning of the show. We're good. So,
Oh no.
we're good to go.
Adult language.
Right. But
My
that's
Christian
what
ears.
but that's why I tell some of these people, man, don't get wrapped up in that hour. Because if you really knew how they film these things and edit these things and put them all together, you would know
Yeah.
that this is not exactly how that set went.
Right.
They take bits and pieces from multiple
From
sets.
multiple shows. And
From
what they do
multiple
is they wear the same clothes at every
Yes.
show. And it's like
And
they
you're
set
none
it
to
up
watch
so
it.
that, yeah. So from the edit,
Mhm.
it's ingenious.
Yeah.
Because,
But
oh, that joke that landed here didn't land here. Well, let's
Yep.
get the audience reaction to the one where it worked, and then
Where it worked.
the whole special looks like pretty daggone good. That's why
Mhm.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's why these things cost so much.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is why they paid their editing team and film crew and everything millions to do it, because they know from somebody like Dave Chappelle's about to drop. I think he dropped a new special today or here in the
hmm
next couple of days.
yeah,
Um, Imagine how much it costs to just for the whole editing and just filming of it all. Like that's a big budget in itself.
yeah.
Not the venue. No, it's all that goes into making sure that it's great. And it's not to take anything away from their talent. It's just again, they have they that little piece that you're looking at right there, that hour that they gave you to either, that you had on DVD,
hmm
VHS, or stream or whatever, that's something that was curated and put together. And so don't feel like just because you aren't getting those same kind of responses in your first few months of doing this, or even in your first year of doing it,
hmm
that doesn't mean that you're a bad comic. It's just that you're figuring this out. You're in the process, and sorry that you didn't step off the porch immediately being, Dave Chappelle or being,
Thank goodness for that.
right.
Like you see, like a lot of people are like, they're trying to cancel Matt Rife, and it's like, and he's like, he
Yeah.
talks about like one of the downsides is he got famous really fast. A
Yep.
lot of it via the algorithm and his crowd work.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Yep.
he's put in the work and he's put in time. So it was, like where people are like, oh, he just came out of nowhere. It's like, no, like,
No.
10 years to overnight success.
No.
Sure thing. But like in terms of it, where it's like like it was such a rise that
Mhm.
it's, like that's something that like, even with, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was a comedian and a lot of comics hated him, but he was doing all this work in all these movies. And it was this just like, they were like, he's not funny. And then it's like, you go listen and he's killing the room. And they're like, well, like, man, I wish I knew his name. We haven't
Where do you
seen,
know him from?
he was he college basically. He would go on.
Yeah.
He was selling on arenas, putting out. He did a movie with like I think Jennifer Alba or something like that, where he worked
Oh,
as
Jessica Alba.
Jessica Alba.
Oh, you're talking about Dane Cook?
Dane Cook. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I've seen people talk and him talk. It's like.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a time to also kind of make a lot of friends because it was just like he just came in and started it started hitting it and he just kept going and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, so there wasn't a lot of people who were like, he hasn't put in the time, it's like, and grumbling about it. And I was like, oh, that's gotta suck, that's gotta feel lonely, because it's like one of the best things about doing comedy is hanging out with the comics, man. It's like,
Yeah.
we're all just making each other laugh, having a great grand old time. And so it's like, even if the show was like, okay, yeah, I need to work on that, sure thing. But man, it was
Yep.
hanging out with those comics is the lifeblood of it. My favorite insult that gets thrown my way is that I am not Dave Chappelle, or I am not Kevin Hart, or
Yeah.
am not Eddie Murphy. And I'm like, interestingly enough, I don't know why all those comedians are black, but I don't.
I was sitting there thinking that too. I was like,
And I'm just like, am I giving off a vibe like that? that I think that I'm three of probably
Right.
some of the greatest comedians. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not Eddie, Richard Pryor, it's like,
Right.
yes,
Right.
like they're deal with Bill Burr or Louis C.K. Like that's the
Hmm.
obvious connection, man.
Yep.
But some of
Exactly.
the internet's funny. Like it just
Yeah.
makes me laugh.
They can't help but I mean, we do this as human beings. We automatically compare people to others.
Yeah, yeah,
And so we compare anything to something we already know.
yeah.
And so when we do that, it's fine that we do that because in a sense that we're doing it to better understand it or to help categorize it in our brains or whatever. So that's why we automatically do it. But even then, you don't need to say it out loud. So even though this is a way that it helps you better, I guess, deal with it, that doesn't mean that you need to go out of your way to tell this to this person
Hmm.
when duh, I already know that. I'm not that person and I'm not trying to be that person. I don't want to be that person. I think that's another thing too is that I don't want I don't want it to be I don't even want my influences to be prevalent when I
Hmm.
perform. I don't want you to, be able to look at my set and be like, "Oh, you must really like this person, whatever."
Right.
One time, a guy told me he was like, "Yeah, that one joke that you did um, sounds really similar to like a Kevin Hart joke,"
Hmm.
and I'm like, "Dog, Kevin Hart, who has, who's one of the biggest comics ever,
Yeah.
and
And he's great. Like I love Kevin Hart.
all of his material is out there to be seen.
Hmm.
You think I would be as bold as to take a joke from Kevin Hart and re-perform it in front of other people? No fucking way. Like how stupid would I be to do something like that?
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I'm like, well, what about it is Kevin Hart, or when did Kevin Hart do this joke? He was like, oh, it was a certain move that you made.
Mm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can contort my body in certain ways and everything, or that's automatically trying to be another comedian. It's
Yeah.
like, no, no. It's just that maybe we both had similar reactions to our two different stories. And okay, that's fine. What does that do? And so because I mean, and I'm sure you're picking up on it too, and you know this as well. Material is all that we have as
Hmm.
far as comics. I mean, obviously you have your performance, you have
Delivery. Yeah.
your personality, your delivery, and things like that. But our material is what we sit down and come up with. And so, to instantly say something like that, to jump out there and say something like that, it's like you're accusing me of plagiarism. You're accusing me of being a Carlos Mencia or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And or Amy Schumer.
Hmm.
Like those
Yeah.
kind of things.
Exactly.
It's like I don't want to be in the vein with those people. So let's not jump to that.
Yeah.
Off the bat. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, 100%. And so that's where it's like I was talking with we had Aiden on the show the previous
Yeah.
episode, and we
Hmm.
were talking kind of about that. It's like where it's like I'm trying to make sure I'm making a conscious effort, especially when
Yeah.
I do consume comedy, because my wife and I we
Mhm.
like to watch comedy, and
Yeah.
I think that she would laugh at my jokes if they were delivered by somebody else. So I was even like, dude, if can we film it if you take my joke, and then I can
Hmm.
show it to her and she won't know that I wrote it, and then if she laughs, I'm gonna be like, gotcha, like that was
Right.
mine.
That's
Because it's
right.
because she's yeah, she's supportive, but it's like in that way where it's just like
Uh,
she's such a wallflower and she's very
mhm.
empathetic, so it's like
Mhm.
for her it's like she's on stage and that's just something that like it won't work. People are
Yeah.
like, oh, your wife come out? Nope, don't bring her.
No.
She's
But
not
see,
gonna have
that's
a good time.
my wife is like that too, where she's like you said, being so empathetic. Like
Hmm.
she almost feels like she is on stage doing
Yeah.
it with me. And so and sometimes I'll catch a glimpse of her. I try not to look at her while I'm performing, but I'll catch a glimpse of her and she may hear things that the crowd is saying.
Yeah.
Or, if a certain audience member who I've already been going back and forth with in a good way,
Hmm.
and everything, and they're adding more to it, she's kind of like, oh, I'm nervous. What is he going to say? Or
Yeah.
is he going to be able to work his way up out of this and whatever? And it's like, I'm not worried about it. Like I'm glad that people are talking because that means that they're listening.
Yeah.
So now I can use that attention to do just about anything up here. And that's what this whole thing is supposed to be about. It's about having these people's attention. If they were quiet, or if they were talking to each other and everything, that's when
Hmm.
we have an issue. But they're talking to me, and they're saying whatever shit to me. Like, I rarely remember what somebody has said to me on stage until, definitely not after. While I'm on stage or whatever, or like after and
Hmm.
everything, I don't remember what anybody said. I barely remember what I said. It's not until I go back and I look at the tape and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I said that, or those kind of things. But yeah, no, that's all just from just recording it, be able to tell what's going on. But no, that's why my wife doesn't. She loves coming to the shows. She used to. Well, I was doing comedy before I met
Hmm.
her, so she had came to one of my shows prior to us dating, and we worked together as well, and all that. So I invited her to one of my shows, and she brought a friend or whatever. Um, and we hung out, and that was cool. Then she was coming to more shows and whatever. And yeah, she's always just loved coming to my shows. But that's been the part where she's kind of like, you can tell she's like experiencing it like
Hmm.
as I'm experiencing it, but it's two different ways that
Yeah.
we're experiencing
I
it.
think it would have been helpful if I was doing stand up before I
Mhm.
met my wife, because
Mm.
like it's been an adjustment,
Yeah.
for her. And it's like I like to go and I'll put the kids to bed, I'll like draw her a bath, then I'll pop
Hmm.
down, for a bike,
Yeah.
and then and have a good time, then come back home. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, so it's like that, like I try to make it as least impactful to her. But it's like, yeah, there's definitely like same thing with my mom cried when
Hmm.
she found out I was doing stand-up comedy. And my
Really?
mom has always been the most supportive like person in my life, to
Mm.
where like if I would ever, my dad's an accountant, so
Yeah.
if I had like, hey dad, I'm doing this artistic thing, I because I've been published in newspapers for my cartoons and like all these
Man.
different things. And
Yeah.
but he was always like, where's the money, like you're doing spending all this time, like you're not getting paid, like this is weird, this is crazy, like
Mhm.
what are you doing,
Yep.
you got to provide, you got to like he can't fathom it. And it wasn't until like I showed him how much my YouTube channel made 1 month, and he was like, oh wow, what, like what,
Keep
this is
going.
this is real, why? Like, all right, like, well, like Google sells ads against this stuff, so there you go.
Yep.
And then they give you
Hmm.
a little, give you a little kickback, for your effort. But yeah, and so, but for her, like this was like the weirdest
Hmm.
reaction, and it was like, like unfortunately, she was abandoned by her dad, and she remembers that he would go out to the club, and so for whatever
Uh,
reason, me going
okay.
out to a comedy club
Yep.
elicited that same kind of memory in her, and we had a good
Hmm.
talk, and she's supportive of it now. She's nervous that I'm going to get canceled, but I was like, people have been trying to cancel me for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's like, and trying to cancel like over jokes too, which is great, because now
Hmm.
I get to lead in to a joke going like, well, they tried to cancel me for this one, who wants to hear, let's talk about some
Right.
racist stuff, and it's like people then go nuts. It's like, yeah, this is great, thank you for trying to cancel me, by the way. I appreciate any and all marketing, that anybody wants to spend their energy promoting a stand-up comic who said
Yeah.
something that was dumb on purpose. Like, I've written it and it's great.
Hmm.
And the only review I care about is the laughs that I get. And if I don't get any laughs, then it's like, yeah, then I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna keep working on it, trying to
Hmm.
refine it for sure.
Yeah,
Man.
because like you brought up earlier, you speaking about Matt Rife
Yeah.
and everything, and he started his special off the bat with a domestic violence joke. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like whoa,
And it was like, your audience is mostly women, and that's like a lot of them are
yeah.
like, oh, he's so cute, oh my gosh, Matt, have sex
Mhm.
with me. And it's like,
Right.
oh yeah. It's like, and then it's like, let's talk about beating women, guys. It's like,
Yeah. Yes, and he made that joke, and they're like, oh, no, he wouldn't do that. Not my
I,
man.
I I do appreciate his response. Like, here's my official
Oh my
apology.
gosh, you
That
can
is
tell like
legendary.
he's
That
been
was,
preparing
oh yeah.
this. You could tell like
Mhm.
prior to, he just felt like it was going to be some kind of backlash.
And that's interesting. And I know we're over our hour, so I want to make sure I
Yeah.
can send you, to bed. Well,
Oh no, you're
finish you
good,
off
man.
good. Uh,
No, yeah, no, no kids to worry about at the moment, and yeah, it's just me and the wife. So yeah, no, you good.
but one of the things that was like, yeah, you see he's been preparing for it, but that's when it's like a lot of the bigger or the comedians, they post a lot of crowd work as opposed to their actual
Yeah.
jokes, right?
Right.
And I think there's actually something that's why the internet actually likes that. There's a safety, but there's nobody can no one's going to really come out and say like, oh, you're punching down too hard. I guess you could, but generally speaking, like, it's back and forth banter, it's people having fun and talking. And so that's where it's like those clips, like that's where they post those because they aren't actually a part of the show. People come out to the show and then they actually get the jokes they haven't seen, as opposed to like, oh, I've saw you perform this joke 30 times, Brian, because it's shown up in my feed, this number of times.
Yeah.
So that's something that's an interesting strategy, but I think that essentially then worked in a way against him in his special, where people became fans of his, of his crowd work. And then it's like, oh, maybe I only like his crowd work, And you never really know, because it's like, for me, I was like, I haven't watched his special yet, because this goes back to like being selective of the comedy that I consume, because out of fear to make sure that I'm not like inadvertently taking things and it's like I was even talking about it like in terms of like Shane Gillis like onset republicanism line. I was like, that's such a good line. I have a whole different joke like, and I use that, or like cured me of being a Republican like that. It's just like what all different ways of doing it. And I was like, but it's like I think premises are okay. Like, it's like, what's my take on, oh, that's an interesting premise, let me think about it and write something about it from my perspective that I think is funny, because it's like, yeah, I think that's natural, like that humans do that. But yeah, like performing somebody else's joke, it just seems weird. Like, and I've seen people do it. I saw somebody get up and perform jokes that I have heard, and I'm like, that isn't your joke. And not like in an accidental, like two people came up with the same premise and A or B, but no, I was like, I heard that joke 10 years ago.
Yes.
This is strange, and I was like, all right, and then I just hope they don't walk up to me and ask me how they did or how they, because it's like, I tend to be a cheerleader, I'm just like, go.
Same.
I don't want to sit here and like, and unless you want to have a sit down, like real discussion about, it's like, I don't know. Like, I never know what people are needing. And I always just default to being, way to go, man. Keep it up.
Because I know we're similar in that, it doesn't take, or at least I could say just for myself, it doesn't take a lot to make me laugh, make me laugh. Like, I think everything's funny.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm right there.
But the moments where you may see me stop laughing, it's either because a certain joke I've heard before, and I know that's from somebody else, and I'm not going to give it to you on that one.
Yeah.
Because you don't deserve that laugh. It wasn't yours.
That's not your laugh.
No, it's not your laugh. And then it also too, because I got in a little bit of trouble for this. Not even real trouble. I don't even know why I bothered saying that shit. But early on, like when people do jokes about the N-word, and so like jokes about the N-word, there are some jokes that have been really, really good about it that, good. Yeah, awesome. But it seemed like when I started in 2019, it seemed like every white dude had a joke about them wanting to say the word.
Weird.
And it's like,
I always think it's funny because like my whole like take on the N-word itself is that if you ever want to see a bunch of people get nervous, like just say the N-word.
Right.
And every white person's like, and then what you want to look for is the one guy going, yeah, it's like, got him, like we got you. We look a little entrapment there, everybody.
Yeah. But it's always just been like, that's been most of the jokes that I've heard on it. It's been just somebody else who wants to use the word.
Yeah.
And like for me personally, I do not like the word. I know I put out a clip of me using the word twice, but guarantee you that's the only 2 times I've used it.
Yeah.
At least in years and everything, because it's not something I use normally. I don't talk like that. I don't call anybody that. And I've corrected people when they've called me my N-word. I'm like, I'm not that, because that doesn't describe me.
I've been called the N-word.
Yeah.
I had a guy like yell it at me, like, like 50 times. And I'm like, I was at a zero like up until that
Yeah.
conversation, and I was like, all right,
All right. I made it.
all right, okay, cool.
But I think it can still be funny if it's done the right way. You know what I'm saying? And even if you're seeing some like off the cuff type stuff, like if you watch like Kill Tony,
Hmm.
there'll be times where Tony will try to get a black guest or someone that's on the show that obviously he can't use it, but someone who can. And it's cool when it's just like just one of those instances or whatever. It's a little quick joke, we get past it or whatever. It's funny. It was good in the moment. But there are people who literally just do an entire joke where they want to say this word, and it's like, dog, why? Why even say it? What what do we get from this joke here?
Hmm.
What do we learn more about you? Because I think that's the other thing too that we have to be careful of when we do write these jokes. We want people to get insight on the type of person we are,
Yeah.
or we want them to also see why this certain thing I'm bringing up to you right now, see why it is important to me and it should be important to you.
Hmm.
And in a way, we are also very persuasive, that's what we are. We're persuading people to see or to get you to laugh at something that we think is funny.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going through. We're giving all you these different details. We're giving you all these different points that we have on it and everything, so that eventually at the end of this joke, you have the same, opinion, same viewpoint, or you at least get a glimpse into how we see it, and then it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole point of this. So with that understanding there, it's like, okay, there are things that we can laugh about. I'm not saying that there aren't good jokes about the N word,
Hmm.
but be creative when
Yeah.
you do it. And I said that on Facebook. This was like within, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months of me starting comedy. I said that because that was something I was hearing a lot of. And I
Hmm.
was telling comics, I'm like, hey, be careful when you do these jokes and everything, because not
They bring
everybody
up an
is funny.
emotion, right? It's like
Yes.
because
Yes.
like not that I have experienced anything that like
Mhm.
Black America has experienced in this
Yeah.
country.
Hmm.
However, like I'm not blind to it. Like I mean I've told
Right.
stories and and talked about like some of my things that I've witnessed that I've saw my friends have to deal with. That it's like, oh, there
Hmm.
is two worlds. Like
Yep.
there is this other world that
Hmm.
you don't see unless you either actually brought along into it, but then you can't really truly know it because then I just go back to living my normal life. Nobody's going to pull me over,
Yep.
and if they do, I'll talk to them about baseball and I'll get out of the ticket. Like it's like I don't know why. I'm a
Yeah.
charming man, but I allow my white savior complex to come into this conversation a little bit. But like as somebody who's hyper dyslexic though, like I don't think I ever heard the N
Mm,
word until I was like in high school. Like I
really?
was very multicultural, like Catholic growing up,
Mhm.
so it's like my priest is black. Like it's like always just been like yeah, this is just life. Like we're just
Yeah.
everybody's got we got Vietnamese, we got Mexicans, we got blacks, we
Mhm.
got white people.
Same.
It's like we got everybody. We're just all
Yep.
hanging out, and it's beautiful. Like I've always appreciated that.
Mhm.
So I never really heard it. Like thankfully, I had a my friend Cameron like help
Mhm.
educate me. Like
Yeah.
so I didn't go and do something stupid. And thank God that it's like hey, like let's okay, because I think I heard him say it, and I was like I've never heard that word. But as somebody who's hyper dyslexic, though, there are certain countries I
Mhm.
will not try to pronounce just out of
Right.
fear. Like, and
Yep.
like with Winnie the Pooh, like, get out of here, Tigger. Like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Why two G's? Why the hard G, man? Like, this is not like I'm nervous. I'm
Yeah.
sweating bullets here, man.
Because you get so close to it, right?
Like, oh my
But
gosh, like
yeah, man,
ginger is
that's
also a funny, kind of word because there was
mhm.
I forget the comedian, but he talked about like how like he was singing a song and it's like, yeah, you can spell and people are thinking the N word and it's like it spells ginger. It's like, oh my gosh, we
Yep.
shared the same letters.
Yes.
Just it's all like mixed around.
Yeah,
So
man.
there's a
But,
soul connection that see that's the thing like gingers don't have souls so we clomb on to like to black culture as much as we can just to try and have some sentiments of like reality.
yeah, and that's why, and like when I brought that up years ago, I said that not in a way to scare people, but
Hmm.
it's like be aware of what you're doing,
Yeah.
and everything. And some people took it as I was, I don't know, encouraging people to be violent towards others,
Mm.
or
Oh,
you
that
know,
sounds like a words of
uh,
violence kind of mindset.
like, yeah, because what my thing was, I told them, I said, be careful with using this word because not everybody's going to respond to it the same way.
Yeah.
Some people may be offended by this. And mind you, this is 2019.
Yeah.
This, Trump is just now getting into office and shit. Racial tensions are just
Yeah.
stupid high and everything. And so I'm trying to warn people on, yeah, you might think this is a really good joke, but just know that if nobody laughs at it, that doesn't mean that they just don't get it. No, it's that it's not funny and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So don't think that you need to keep doing it
Mm-hmm.
because it's not going to work the way that you wrote it and everything because it sounds similar. We've heard this joke before. And so, yeah, some people thought that that was me saying, oh, well, you must want these people to get hurt. No, I could give two shits about these people.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here for. Like, no, it's the thing of because we all are doing the same exact thing. We're going out there every single night telling these jokes and falling flat on our face when it comes to some of them, but others are going to hit. But we're trying to find the ones that are going to hit.
Yeah.
So in this process of trying to write this material, I'm letting you know, hey, bro, heard the joke before, not working.
Yeah.
Maybe you should try something else. But we should be able to do that as comics with
Yeah.
one another.
I think that's an important role that, like, as
Yeah.
that as a comic, not that we have to save the world, but it's that, like, I
Yeah.
feel like I don't think anything should be off limits as long as it's funny and or like there's a level of truth that it does it into it, right? Because it's that, like, I think you should be able to make fun of me for any reason whatsoever, right? Like just I do. There should not be like, hey, you shouldn't make fun of Brian, for this, or this. Like, no. Like, let's not try to create barriers. But I would say, like, try to make it funny. Be like, like, hey, Brian sucks and he's fat. Well, maybe deliver it like a little bit better, please, or something.
A little bit, please.
Just a little bit. Like, give it a little spice or something. Like, why? Give me,
Right, because when it's too direct, it's almost like, okay, you're trying to hurt me.
Right. But it's like I think that, like, and that's the thing, like, because I don't like the R word, in this regards.
Me either.
But I will use it on stage if I feel that I can make it work. And generally it's like, I'm this. And it's like, cause I'll say, like, I haven't done this one yet, but I'm still like writing it because it's like, I actually have been tested and have learning disabilities and, like I'm hyper dyslexic and it's like, so it's like, so it turns out like I can say it cause it's like, I am this.
This is me.
This is me. But it's like, like on stage, it's like, I think that it's like, if we build in these things that like these taboos, I think people are like, we get enough of that, like censorship online that's why I think the comedy clubs, I've just seen them so much more activity. People are just excited to like be there and just like, all right, let's, we're going to say some stupid stuff and we're going to laugh at it because it's, because it's good. Cause like when we're all laughing together, like that's a healthy thing actually as a society to be like, because I think also when we're making fun of ourselves, like, and then we like, okay, we're just going to make fun of everybody. We're not going to protect anybody's, feelings. But at the same time, if I'm going to make fun of you or a group of people, I have to have an ingrained knowledge of that group because then it's not truthful. Then it's just like, hey, some guy who has no concept of what it means to be, Indian in Frisco, is saying like, stuff about like Indians in Frisco like that. Like, okay, like, no, it doesn't vibe. But then if you know that community and you know what they talk about and you know how they act and you know how they talk and think, and then you can bring that up and then you get that community completely on your side because you're like, but you don't then, it's not just like, okay, I'm just going to focus in on like one group. But if you have that, like that knowledge of that group, because you're a part of that group, you're not an outsider. You just happen to be like, dude, I'm not of that, of your race, but I am of your, we are a group together. We are actually, a family in this regard, so on the greater concept. So, but those are always tricky because like that's where it's like, what's for me, I always like, what's the truth, and it better be funny, because if it's not funny, keep working on it. Like, I'm not saying you can't, do a joke, about the N-word or about anything. Like, I don't want to put those barriers on people, but
no, just make it good and make it
good.
funny. That's it. That's literally the requirement. That's
Mhm.
all you got to do. You got to get people to laugh at it. And yeah, and I don't know. And it doesn't need to be more difficult than that, because I agree with you. When it comes to comedy, this should be the place where we can come to be as stupid as possible.
Yeah.
Like, just be flat out just dumb. And I love that, because that's
Yeah.
completely separate than from what I've been allowed to be my entire life. Growing
Mhm.
up, I was always told that this is how my grades have got to be.
Yeah.
This is who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to go to college and all this stuff. And I was a pre-med student and doing all this different stuff or whatever, and was a chemist for some time. And those are areas that aren't funny. Like, you're judged by how much you know.
I mean, you said
And
you had a crackhead in your neighborhood, so I'm just saying.
you know what I'm saying?
Like, you said chemist, like, I don't know.
Right? What kind of chemist?
What kind of chemist we talking about here, man?
No, I wish I was. I'd have made a lot more
Walter
money.
White over here.
Yeah, no, I was calling myself Walter White. That's my nickname in college.
Oh, that's great.
Yes,
I had no
man.
idea.
But yeah, man. No, that's what this whole thing should be about. It should be about just being able to get up there, talk about anybody, make jokes about anybody, any group, anything, as long as it's funny. And that's all it needs to be. If it's not funny, move on, find something else.
Mm-hmm.
Find another joke, another topic to talk about. There's a billion things in this world, and I'm undercutting it. There's so
Yeah.
many different things you can make jokes about, and so many things that are just new that nobody has made jokes about. That if you take a long enough time to think it through, you can do it. It's hard. I was about to say it's not hard. No, it's hard. It's hard to do it, but that's what makes it worth it in the end, because you stand out because of how different your perspective and your content is.
That's the goal, man. Well, nobody does it, I think, better right now that I get to see, every time I get to see you perform, than you, my good dude.
Oh,
like,
man.
I've been a fan of yours since the first time I saw you, and I'm like, yeah, dude. And the fact that I get to work with you from time to time is such a freaking treat, dude.
Yeah, man.
But I'm
And
gonna
we got
let
some
you.
more stuff going too. So we got some just real quick before
Go
we
ahead,
get out of
please.
here.
And by the way, before he
yeah.
plugs, just for anybody who's watching this, like, all his links are in the description. So his Instagram, whatever he wants to share, just go check those links, guys. Give him and be sure to follow him here on YouTube, on Instagram, and then whatever else he sends me and after we're done recording, so I can that way you can go follow him in all the different socials.
Yeah, man. No, definitely check it out on YouTube. I've started this series called I Love White People. And
I do
we're 2
too.
episodes in, right? I think I got, what is it, 2 or 3 episodes in, and everything. And it's usually just my interactions from different sets and whatever. And no, it's been fun being able to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I have that stuff up there, older sets and whatever. But for kind of going into 2024, hoping to do a lot more headlining, working on still producing. Unfortunately, I'm no longer producing for Char Bar out in Saxy. I know we had you playing for one of those shows, or did you actually perform there just yet? Or
No,
was
I
it?
haven't done that.
Oh,
You and
okay.
I, like, inside baseball, we were talking about some stuff lining up in 2024. Because I
Yeah.
was like, because you were like, your end of 2023 was like, you were doing, every
That's
weekend.
right.
And I was like, dude, I need to, I need to see, because like that was also where, like, other comics were like, you just gotta ask, and I
Yeah.
have to get comfortable with, like, hey guys, like, is there any spots, anybody looking for a comedian or anything like that for any upcoming shows? And every time I do, people are like, yeah, come on. And that's just something that I know is a challenge, because, like, like with the kids and with the wife and everything like that, it's like it's always going to be a balance, because I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm out of the house all the time and I'm not spending time with the family.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh man, yeah, like I had it, like when we had Molly, when this last year we had a new baby girl. It was about 5 months before, like, I had another show, and it was just like, all right. And I was like, and thankfully shows will come, and then all of a sudden, like at the end of the year, it's like, hey, this
Yeah.
week, hey, this week, hey, this week, and
Mhm.
so I ended
Yep.
2023 pretty strong. But
Yeah,
anyway, you were
and
saying
that's
producing, yeah.
no, and that's the thing is trying to make sure it stays consistent, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so in that, trying to find new venue, have been working with, I did a headlined country club.
Hmm.
This it was what last week or 2 weeks ago, and now that's kind of opened up a whole new network.
Hmm.
So now to be able to produce more, to be able to perform more in those areas where there is some money, and so
It
try to
helps.
turn right and try to turn that into something. And so so that's the whole plan for this year, man. Is continue to build, obviously, in my own career and material and things like that, but also too making sure that I'm making more opportunities for obviously to make money, but for my family, for this thing to get
Yeah,
closer to the dream, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
so and yeah, no, I want to ask you before we get out of here,
yeah, yeah.
what are your goals for 2024 as far as comedy goes?
I want to get better with impressions. Like I want to
Yeah,
get more comfortable because I like
right.
doing them. I have
Hmm.
several that I think I actually am pretty good at, but I get weirdly nervous when I go to do it on stage, and I don't know
Hmm.
why yet. I can slip into like a Texas or a kind of a hick thing, which is very
Yeah.
comfortable. But it's like when I talk about like doing like I always there's some voices and stuff like that I've always kind of done for certain things, and I'm trying to turn that into more. I don't have Trump down at all. Like when I'm like I am jealous of Shane Gillis, and I'm like listen, and he is spot on, so good, and I'm
Yes,
like,
man.
well, and the thing is like Trump's great. Now Biden, I got Biden, all you got
All you
to
gotta
do
do
is
is just
fall asleep or be like his line of dog face pony soldier is just something that I try to work in any moment. You dog face
yes.
pony soldier.
Like, what does that
What
mean?
century are we in? Oh my goodness. But that, and then I want to work on like doing more like have a more hosting experience.
Mhm.
And then again, just continuing to work on, and like as people say, because like people are like, oh, you put your stuff online, you want to be famous, and I go, I think a lot of people think of fame as some kind of destination or cure, and I honestly don't.
Right.
I don't think fame is good at all. Like I'm like I could care less if I
Mhm.
produce the best comedy that I can produce,
Yep.
and I can get people to really laugh and enjoy that,
Mhm.
and they don't even remember who I am, but they remember the joke. That's great. Then like
Yeah.
because again, like I it's like I I like going places and not being mobbed. I like being able to take the kids to the park, and I actually
Uh-huh.
have been recognized in public.
Shit.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
people are like, hey, we Ginger Prime, hey, it's like,
Yep.
and it does feel good, but it's like
Mhm.
it is also good when it's not happening. And I think,
Mhm.
because I've even heard of people, famous people. They're like, I wish everybody could be famous. I think this was Jim Carrey, so that they would realize that it
Yeah.
isn't the thing. People feel like, oh, the thing that's going to complete me is when
Yep.
I'm famous and I have recognition and renown. So it's like, yeah, I do put my stuff out there, but I do it because I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy making. So this year though, like I would like to do some more shows. I'd like to be able to build out like a real solid 20 minutes and
Yep.
get that on film, and then
Mhm.
chop that up. So ultimately, that's one of the nice things about the goal for this year was to start the comedy podcast, and I
Mhm.
had this stipulation where it's like I want to be in person, and I do
Yeah.
ultimately,
Mhm.
like when we hang out like in person, like there's a great energy here, but it's even
Yep.
better when it's like we're in the room together,
Way different.
right? And
Mhm.
that just is like I'm not gonna invite comics over to the house. Like it's like, and it's not that I
Right.
I don't like
Yeah.
comics, but it's like I got young kids here. I don't need
Yeah.
my wife stressing about it. So then I was
No.
like, well, do I get a studio? And I was talking with Josh, and Josh has a studio in like Richardson, and it's like, okay, how can we get down there to do this? And then
Yep.
like just trying to coordinate it, I was like, it was just like this whole year. I'm like trying to figure out how to make it happen, because I was
Mhm.
like, I want to make sure I have content for the YouTube channel. And
Yep.
then it was just because, and honestly, really thank to Dante, who was like, dude, let's just talk. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I do podcasts all the time. Let's kick it off this way. And as this
Mhm.
grows and the channel makes money, which like I make $25 a month on my content on the channel here. Woohoo. you know, and as that number can go up, you know, then maybe it's like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. Now it covers the cost of the studio. Now it's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I honestly, in my mind, like you're doing me like such a huge favor, giving me your time, right?
Oh,
Ultimately, well, like you say that, but it's like there's also this, you get what you pay for. And it's like,
right.
I do believe in paying people for their time, because that's their, like, that's a resource that I'm taking from your wife. And it's like, it's not that it's like, oh, here I like owe you, but it's like, no, thank you for making time for me to produce something that gets to live on and generate revenue, because this does. Now, this will generate 20 cents. So like, okay, like you know, like, so that's not like, I'm not there yet, but that's what I want to grow the podcast as. And then I'd also like to have more of my stand up also supplementing it. So at least every week there's a podcast going out. And then maybe every, 3 months, like, cause I figure like if I really write and get my best, whatever, like every quarter I can produce, you know, a 10 to 15 minute, set, and hopefully do really well with it. And then all of a sudden, 10 to 15 minutes, we're looking at that hour, and then maybe going into 2025, even if I only do like and actually, like, I don't know what that's going to cost. Cause like there's, as Julie says, I am definitely somebody who's got tons of irons in the fire. Like I'm just somebody who's just like, I'm doing all that. But no, I hope, obviously we're with the Life Happens comedy group, with the comedy junkies, like just trying to get better at networking and doing more shows and getting, and getting people out to the shows, I think would be really exciting as well. So I got a show coming up on, back of the Red Room, on the 12th. So they asked me to host. So I was like, So I was like, I'm not a surprise host. I am going to be the host. So I'm excited about doing that, and that's it feels good to be asked. It really does. So
And is that with Mike?
Yeah, that's with Mike.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see his. I really hope they like his Ghost Trippers gets picked up, because just the premise in and of itself is just so freaking funny. And I'm like, and so and especially if it gets picked up, they're like, yeah, we got to get you on. And I was like, if it happens, it happens. Like, again, like I'm just like, all right, but it's like, cool.
Right. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But I think 2024 is going to be hopefully pretty epic, because this year I lost 50 pounds. So if I can do that again next year, like, then I can be down into kind of my good healthy weight. And I'm really thankful I didn't write a lot of fat jokes. I'm looking forward. Like I'll be at the arena here, not this week, but next week. And I get to do my January joke, which is like, hey, so I got a new gym. I got a new gym membership. Members like, yay! I was like, guys, relax. Just how fat people say Happy New Year. Just how we say Happy New Year. I got a new gym membership too. That's the correct response. And so
how did you go about? If you don't mind me asking, how did you go about dropping the weight?
Well, so I was always athletic. So I was like, as I was gaining weight, like I'm doing sprint triathlons, half marathons. I'm a big runner. Just keep gaining weight. So I was just like, I went and basically I was like, here's my workout regimen. Here's what I'm eating. Why can I not lose weight? And I said, test everything. I'm thinking I have like a thyroid issue or something. Well, it turns out I have just low T. I mean, extremely low. And then what it is the gland that produces testosterone also produces the stress hormone. So my body for the last 10 years I've been just having constant anxiety, just been in this fight or flight mode. Right. And so it's just like, I've been just holding on to weight. And then now that I'm on, it's ironically enough, it's a fertility drug. So I produce an